Hi everybody, I'm Deepak Shetty and I work for Red Hat India, and I'm here to talk about certificate-based access type in Manila, which is a brand new access type that was recently added in Manila. So let's start with the basics. What's Manila? Manila is a shared file system as a service. It got incubated since OpenStack Juno release. The goal is to provide file shares to Nova instances, and the Manila API strives to provide a management of shared file systems with support for multiple protocols and backend implementations. Like NFS and CIFS are primarily supported. Other protocols are encouraged as well. For example, the GlusterFS, and we are going to shortly see the GlusterFS driver in my presentation. Manila supports multi-tenancy, so it's ideal for the public cloud use case. And it has a framework to support storage backends that don't support multi-tenancy natively, so that they can still get onto the bandwagon of Manila. Okay, so that's the typical Manila use case. This diagram is available on the OpenStack docs Manila wiki page. So this kind of shows you the OpenStack compute on the right side, and the file shell service, that's the Manila, on the left side. And as you can see, you can provision shares. So in this example, you have a finance share, a R&D share, and a marketing share. And the R&D share is kind of provisioned to the instances 1 and 7. The marketing share is provisioned to instances 6 and 8. So this is what Manila provides you at a very basic level, the ability to provision shares, allow access, deny access to it, and do a whole lot of other things like snapshot and other stuff. Okay, so coming to the topic of our interest in this presentation, the Manila access types. So there are primarily 3 access types supported: IP, user, and CERT-based access type. IP is nothing but control the access to the share using IP address. So it takes IP as an argument, and typically it's used for controlling access to NFS type shares. The second access type is user-based access, which provides you access control using username. It takes obviously a username as an argument, and it's typically used in controlling access to a CIFS or a Samba share. The third type of access, which basically I worked on enabling this in Manila in the recent past, is CERT-based access type. So the CERT-based access type enables the access control using SSL/TLS certificates. It takes the SSL certificate's common name as an argument. And the important thing to note about the CERT-based access type is that the certificate setup, also known as the trust setup between the client, which is OpenStack instance in this case, and the server, which is the storage backend in this case, is out of band of Manila, which basically means that Manila doesn't care about how you enable the trust. It's out of band. It's something that the administrator or the deployer has to do as a prerequisite for this particular access type. And currently, this access type is implemented by the GlusterFS Native Driver, which provides the ability to create shares that can be accessed by the OpenStack instances using the GlusterFS protocol. And this is just one of the examples. The access type is open to be implemented and extended by other drivers in the future. So let's get to the GlusterFS native driver. It supports the certificate-based access type of Manila. It helps you provision shares that use the GlusterFS protocol. And in this particular case, the instances directly talk with the GlusterFS storage backend. So if you have been following Manila, the typical way of provisioning shares is through a service VM approach. So the instances talk with the service VM, which actually export the share on behalf of the real backend. But in case of the Gluster native driver, you don't need to go through the service VM, so you kind of cut that hop. The instances directly talk with the Gluster storage backend. We do provide a secure way of accessing your shares, mainly because only the tenants with the right SSL certificate will be able to access, hence mount the share. And it is multi-tenant because we provide tenant separation using SSL tenant-specific SSL certificates. And the GlusterFS native driver also supports certificate chaining and cipher list that you can mention on the GlusterFS storage backend. Next slide. This driver is available upstream, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to detail how this works. So one Manila share is mapped to a one GlusterFS volume. And what are the prerequisites for this to work? Well, the GlusterFS storage backend, what we call as GlusterFS volume, should be set up with the cert-based access type enabled. Instances should have the server-signed client certificates preloaded. You could have them as part of a tenant image so that when you create an OpenStack instance, they have these certificates already present inside the image. And the third one is that in the Manila configuration file, you need to provide a list of Gluster volumes that you would want to work with. So those are the only three prerequisites that you want to have in order to use the GlusterFS native driver in Manila. I just quickly want to take this opportunity to talk about the to-dos that we have as of today. We need to add some documentation support in the OpenStack Manila documentation page about how to use this driver, and probably give a real-world example there for people to use that as a reference. We need to add support for snapshots. GlusterFS storage system does support snapshots, and we need to implement that in this driver so that we can have the Manila snapshot, go back all the way to the GlusterFS volume level snapshot. We need to add support for a dynamic creation of GlusterFS volumes. By this, what I mean is, you don't have to specify a list of Gluster volumes to work with. You can just specify a trusted storage pool, which is the trusted storage pool of your storage backend, and the Gluster driver of Manila will dynamically create a new Gluster volume as you create a new share. So you're not limited by the list of Gluster volumes, and you're not limited by the prerequisite that you need to have a Gluster volume pre-created for the driver to work, which is how it stands today. So the dynamic creation of Gluster volumes will be a very good feature that we are working on. Data shredding as part of the Gluster volume delete operation. By this, what I mean is when you do a Manila share delete, you can actually have the Gluster volume shred the data on the disk before the volume gets deleted, so that you have a secure way of disposing your data before the volume is kind of shared to another tenant or another user. So we are planning to work on this feature as well. And last but not the least, we also want to work on the feature where you could create a share from an existing snapshot. That concludes my presentation. Thanks for listening. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to.